the way in which Beckett was brought back into the series, you and I have had this discussion in the past. The going out with a bang was so good. It was one of those turning points in the show where we all, as fans, just bled for the character, wept. I certainly teared up in watching that performance. To be brought back as a clone. In sci-fi, there are only so many ways that you can be introduced. Alternate dimension, time travel, this or that. Zuby Force wanted to know, what did you think of the way that you were reinserted into the series? And do you think it could have been served better by doing it a different way?
Oh, interesting. I thought it was ingenious, actually. You know, Joe Malazzi talked to me about it. I'm like, well, how are we going to bring me back? You know, when I got the initial call, we'd love to have you back. You know, and I was like, oh, that was great. And honestly, didn't expect that. It was very nice to come back on the show, and obviously, you know, at the end, you know, Beckett flies Atlantis back to, you know, the San Francisco Bay. So, I mean, for me as an actor, it was kind of. And I think it was a nice homage to the fans, because the fan base really went kind of berserk when he got killed. So it was really a pleasure, you know, to come back on the show, and you know, using the whole Michael through line and inserting that in there, and he became. I thought, oh, that's really smart. And he's like, yeah, because sci-fi, anything can happen. I thought it was a pretty clever way to do it. You know, I really do. I never really, because it really kind of made sense to me after he told me how he's going to do it. That I thought, okay, that makes sense. So I never really thought of any other ways, obviously because it's an exploding tumor, so it'd have to be something like that, you know? Some DNA or something, you know. But how my concern was when I came back is how was I going to play the character? And essentially, he's like, just play him exactly the same. Obviously, the first episode back, he's a bit, you know, everyone's kind of treating him odd. So that's a bit of an odd thing. It's just going to unfold how it unfolds. But as we went on through the episodes, he just became Beckett again, in my estimation, and how I played him, you know. And there was that remnants of what had happened, but it just gave more layers to the character, I felt.
I recently watched Whispers, and I could have swore that it was part of the dialogue, but I guess it was just inferred. The metaphysics of what happens to the character is always very interesting to me and to a lot of fans, because we like to dissect the minutia of it. Just how much of Beckett is Beckett. If a soul exists, is that still there, a part of him, or is it something else? And the scene where the creature comes down above you and checks you out, you know, and leaves. I remember watching that being like, oh, it's sensing that this is a similar creation, that this is another of Michael's creations, and is leaving him alone for that reason. Did you get that vibe when in shooting that and in reading that content, or do you think that it was just a coincidence and you were just
I don't know,
Beckett was quiet?
All I know is I was frozen.
Right.
Even when they had it, just things so horrifying. I'm just going to stay exactly still and don't move at all and don't breathe. And I didn't go into that detail what you have, you know, which is, it could be something else. Obviously, that's what makes sci-fi, right? But as an actor, I was like, okay, that's a scary. I'm scaring the bloody hell out of me. I'm just a horrible creature.
We had Nicole Boer on a few weeks ago.
Oh, she's awesome.
She loved working with you.
No, she's great. Yeah, she's great. It was a pleasure. She's so fun. I wish we'd have more of her in the show. It would be great.
You know, had there been a season 6, it's one of the things I'm going to ask Joseph Malazzi about when we hit season 5. We've been talking season by season over the past year, almost year and a half. That had to have been almost a certainty that that team would have been back for season 6, because it was such a great direction.
It was a fun episode too, you know, and you never know. Hey, maybe Beckett would have gotten a little love interest for a change rather than David Hewitt.
Yeah. You know, nothing against Dave, but you know, let's diversify a little.
Come on, let's mix it up a bit. But no, all the girls on the show, they all came in, and it was a really cool, fun episode, you know. And it was like a lot of Beckett and Shepard and these women, you know, in the episode. It was pretty cool and frightening too. You know, quite a scary episode, right?
Atlantis, Stargate did horror about once every year or two, and it's one of those where it's like, okay, if you're going to go there as an audience member, if you're going to go there, you really need to make this genre work. And that's one of those where I had a couple of genuine jumps that didn't feel cheap. It felt like a solid performance, or a solid presentation.
Yeah, no, I think so too. Yeah.
Anima Confusa, my question for Paul, were there any, when, if and when you ever had a difficult day on Atlantis, what would bring it about? Would it be dialogue? Would it be, working out in the rain? What were the most trying days on that set?
Uh, well, the dialogue was, listen, Dave, in our show, in Atlantis, it was David had a ton of dialogue. I would have a ton of dialogue, and Nicole would have like heavy dialogue as well, quite often. So you get used to it. Some days are easier than others, but those were all fun. I guess sometimes when you went into the demonstration force and it was pouring rain, which it does in Vancouver a lot, and Nicole, that can be a little trying, but I also enjoyed it, regardless. You kind of deal with, at the end of the day, we're so fortunate to be working on a cool show, and the crew is working their butts off. So I just think I just go with a positive attitude and just make the best of it however you can. I mean, there's lots of hot coffee and tea and whatever and hot shots for your pockets. But, I guess physically some things are trying, more so probably for like Jason and those guys who are doing a lot of stunts,
That's true.
And that can be difficult. I remember when he was getting just tossed around with the super wraith in that fight.
Oh yes, with Dan Payne in this was Satita.
It was Satita, and he was just getting hammered, left to right. And I was like, okay, I can string this monologue together, but I can't do that. So right. Which is a good thing. So would be walking. So physically demanding, everyone had their parts in the show. Everyone had different things in the show to do, and sometimes ours was to deliver the dialogue and try to be witty and funny, and then Jason's and Joe's oftentimes was a lot of the action stuff, and they delivered on it all the time. So sometimes that can be tricky because there's a lot more semantics to deal with, like guns not firing, all that type of thing. Logistics, the weather, and all those things for those big stunts were a little more probably difficult and trying for those guys than for the talking guys like me.
What was it like on Satita being directed by your showrunner, Robert Cooper?
Great. Yeah, great. Funny. I mean, that's the episode where Rodney got the arrow in the butt, right?
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That did not just happen.
Great episode. Great episode. Oh, Robert's great. I mean, listen, both Brad and Robert, I mean, they know the story inside and out. So, I mean, it's cool. It's exciting. It's always a little heightened too, because one of the bosses is in there, doing it, and Robert's really great to work on. He's got a very calm demeanor, and he's got a really interesting sense of humor too. And he obviously look at Satita with the arrow in the butt, and Maximus. But no, it was very, very cool, and it was such a great episode for Jason too. That was a really big breakout episode for him in that show.
Thanks for watching this clip from Dial the Gate. You can find the full live stream shows on our YouTube channel or visit dialthegate.com for the complete schedule. See you on the other side.